Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday. I am Mark Ross, and our guest tonight, Jim Paul, the former owner and general manager of the El Paso Diablos. Jim, let's talk about the move from Dudley Field to Cohen Stadium. Did you want a new stadium?
Yes, the fans wanted a new stadium. You've got to remember, Dudley was built in 1924, and it was named after the mayor at that time, Mayor Dudley. And a quick side note is when they tore it down after we moved to Cohen Stadium so they make room for the giraffes and the zebras, when they tore it down, all the walls that were our offices were made of adobe. That's El Paso.
Boy, there's some solid construction there.
Not cool.
And the move to Cohen Stadium was a little crazy. I mean, the city built the stadium. You guys were ready to play, but the stadium wasn't ready for you.
No, we didn't. We thought we'd be there for opening day in April, but we got in on June the 10th. And we had to do that because we had Willie Nelson in concert after the game. And naturally, the game lasted forever. But yeah, and by 4 o'clock, they approved the bathrooms and they put the netting up behind home plate. We had no offices. We had the dressing rooms were not finished. The umpires and the other players had to drive up in the buses that we chartered to get them there.
They had to dress at Dudley and then drive out to Northeast for Cohen.
It was rugged, and then we had to take all the scaffolding down, and then after the game put all the scaffolding up. It took an hour to get all the scaffolding down. But Ted Kroom did a hell of a job of getting us in even by June 10th. He was the contractor for that, and he busted his butt, and his people did too. They worked on Saturdays and Sundays. But we had to return a lot of money because we didn't get in time.
Well, I was going to say, you're standing there in one of the suites above it. There's the bathrooms unfinished, and all the scaffolding there on the concourse level. Yeah, how you were able to get together everything in time to play that first game and have Willie Nelson in concert, that's still amazing.
Well, somebody like Rick Parr, our general manager, he busted his butt, and he had a whole crew of guys that would come in at 4 o'clock and take it all down. And then they stayed over, and then they put it all back up the next day so they could continue to work. But skyboxes weren't ready, the press box wasn't ready, and the dressing rooms weren't ready. But as soon as the season ended, we moved in October for our first time to be in our offices at Cohen Stadium.
Now, you continued to set attendance records at Cohen after doing it for years at Dudley Field. In fact, the 1995 season at Cohen Stadium, that was a big one. 329,000 fans in a season?
It's amazing. Yes, we led all of baseball in attendance by then. And again, that Cohen Stadium was a product of the people of El Paso going out and vote a bond issue to tax themselves to build the stadium. Again, there's our fans. They went out and voted it was a good thing, and we didn't even know where it was going to be. It wasn't chosen until later that it would be out where it is now, or was now.
Well, and you were lobbying, of course, to have the stadium built, and you'd be talking to taxpayers, and you'd say, well, where do you live? And they'd respond, and you'd say, by golly, that's where we're building the stadium.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing we didn't tell them where it was going to be. But and the paper, remember, came out on Tuesday, and elections on Saturday, and said 72% will vote against the baseball park.
Wow.
And we got it. And that, again, that's our fans, and that's El Paso. And when you embrace El Paso and give them what they want and create stuff, it was just a tremendous family atmosphere. We didn't do any more beer nights when we got to Cohen Stadium either. But we kept up the 25-cent hot dogs.
Yeah, and I remember standing in a few lines for those quarter hot dogs.
Well,
now, you have shared your knowledge of marketing and promoting minor league baseball, and you touched on this briefly in the last segment. There is a book called Modern Sports Administration, which you co-wrote, and you also have hosted this seminar for not only minor league baseball teams, but college football teams. Tell us about that, and that went on for what, 25 years?
Yes, and it was always called the El Paso Promotional Seminar. But it started with baseball people incoming, and then as it got bigger, and when we got to where we were getting 100 people or more, then I would pick some of them to bring their ideas in to share with all of us. And when we got up to the 308, and they were here for 3 solid days. I mean, we started at 8:30 with breakfast, and we didn't quit till 5:30. People wanted to learn what to do, and most of those that came from the Southeast Conference, you know, like we're talking about LSU, but Notre Dame showed up. We had 3 major league teams showed up and 3 hockey teams showed up. Was, what are you doing and how do you do it? Well, here's how you do it. It's real simple. Give the people what they want. And if they don't know what they want, try something and see if it works. Try it once or twice. After a 3rd time it doesn't work, then change it. But in our case, the people embraced it, the kazoos and all the stuff, FOD and chanting and cheering. And now, here 35 years later, what are they doing on the PA system at a college basketball game or an NBA game or a hockey game? They're chanting from the microphone.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were criticized for that, but the people of El Paso didn't care. That's why Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner of baseball, came to El Paso when he was commissioner, saying, what the heck's going on down there?
With all of the success you had at both the Dudley Dome and Cohen Stadium from the early 70s on into the 90s, you decided in 1996 you were going to sell the team. Why?
Well, I think after, you know, how we started, and the first 10 years were just terrible. And when we moved to Cohen, because of all the problems that occurred to us not getting in on time before the beginning of the season and so forth, we incurred a lot of debt. Nobody in El Paso would finance us. So we ended up at a California bank financing us. And after that, it got going good and stuff. And I think after about 25 years, you kind of say, well, and somebody made us a ridiculous offer. And I thought, you know what? Why not? Now, why did I do it? Well, kind of that reason. And now I had some money, although we paid 35% capital gains, but now I look back on my life and I go, well, I don't want to have regrets, but that's one of them. I wish I'd just kept it going. It was so much fun. But I don't know if I was burning out or after 25 years or what. I don't know, but it was just like, you know, we starved to death the first 10 years, and all of a sudden here comes this big offer, and you go, well, maybe this is what it was about. I wish I didn't.
Yeah. Jim Paul, my thanks to you for coming on Extra and sharing your memories on this very special anniversary of the El Paso Diablos baseball team.
Well, I'm glad to do it. And if you go back and look at some of the old calendars, KVIA had 3 different nights at the Dudley Dome and at Cohen Stadium as sponsors.
And we were proud to be sponsors, certainly, for sure. Well, that's it for ABC-7 Extra for this Sunday night. Next week, UTEP President Heather Wilson will be here to talk about the proposed Sun Bowl Uplift project and some other things happening at the university. I'm Mark Ross. Stay safe, stay strong. I'll see you next Sunday night.